There's a special place in my heart that's yours forever. Evening all. Oh yeah, I hope you're all well. Thank you for joining me again this evening for another live demo. I don't know why I'm out of breath. I've only just switched the cameras on. But yeah, I hope you are all well and you've had a good couple of weeks whilst I've been doing a couple of paid demos over on Zoom. As usual, I'm going to do my thing until the demo start time at 7:30. And in the meantime, please do carry on having a good time in the chat just there, and I'll be ready for you very soon. I'm just messing around with the faceplate. I'm getting this done now because it'll just save a few minutes during the demonstration. There we go. Right, that'll do. Let's put that there. Got mushrooms? No, Steve, I haven't got any mushrooms at all. Cool. Right, yeah, if you carry on chatting, I've got a few little bits and pieces that I just need to finish off, including sorting the cameras out. Or finish sorting the cameras out anyway. Got to get them all into their optimum positions, as it were. Come on, there it is. Just about there. I will explain everything when we get ready. Overhead next. There we go. That'll do. And then new camera angle for you up there. Look. So I just need to configure. Done that one. That one's okay. I don't need that one anymore, so I'll just turn that one back round. What we've got? There we are. That'll do. Might just have a little play with the exposure on this one, just to bring it up a little bit. I think that looks okay. And the other one. Let's bring the exposure up on that one as well. Good. A couple of other little bits to do on the cameras. Okay, I think that will do. Right, okay, 15 minutes to go. I just need to double check the focus point on here. Okay, right. Oh, turn that off. Okay. I've been playing some music whilst I've been doing a little bit more getting ready. I've been listening to a little bit of Pink Floyd. Design and make. Any chances of bringing back Turner's Journey? I have binged watched 84 of them so far. Design and make, I think you asked me that the other week as well, and it is something I might do. My time is very, very tied up at the moment with various things. So I don't know, but I'll think about it. Is the audio okay? I think it might be a little bit quiet. Let me turn that up a little bit. And I think I'll turn it up a little bit in here as well. That might help. There we go. How does that sound? Does that sound okay for you? I've just knocked it up a little bit. Hi Alison and Nigel, nice to see you. The connection's just gone a little bit wobbly. It should settle down again in a minute. Graham Mansfield, I was listening to Dark Side of the Moon. Good, that's better. Splendid, splendid, splendid. Hi Stephen Rickett, hi Jennifer, Steve Ash, Brian Oosby, Frederick Day, Richard Phelan, Martin Gentleturn in Germany, hiya. Andrew at YB Woodshed. Cool. Hello Rob, how are you? Nice to see you. Rob CP, thank you very much. Got no idea how this is going to turn out. It's a bit of a monster piece, to be fair. Rene's just got the rest of his chisels. Well done. Oh, yes, Rene. Thank you very much. Hi, Rene. How are you doing? Tony. Hi, Tony. Yes, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining the new club inaugural meeting last night as well, Tony. Really good to see you. Design and make. Is my original workshop still a garage? It's a bit of a... Yes, it is. It's a garage and a sort of a bit of a bike storage place now too. Jerry Dempsey in Ohio. Hi, Jerry. Stephen Rickett, have I turned monkey puzzle before? Yes, but not this big. Ultan Moore, evening. Good evening to you. Frederick Day, hope you had some of that fantastic music that you had last time. I do have it on here, but obviously I've got to do a little bit of talking, so might throw a bit in later when we start hacking through this, but we'll see. Miss T, hi Miss T. Matt's in and out of work again today. Nice to see you, Matt, and thank you for joining in last night too. Dragon Graphics. Yes, ask away. You've got 10 minutes. Hi, David. Nice to have you with us this evening. Thank you. Hi, Pixie. Jennifer, am I going to be colouring tonight? I don't know. What do you think? Should this be coloured? This big monstrous piece? I don't think so. We'll see. It's got a little bit of blue in it, and there's a little bit of pink in it as well, just here. So, although to be fair, Jennifer, I doubt very much there'll be any colouring. Gordon Chapman, fairly local. Do you have any links to the said club? Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat for you, Gordon. It's an online club actually, which it's a brand new club that I formed last week, and we had our inaugural meeting last night. So that link is in the chat for you. Renee's had some turning done, well done. And Hampshire Sheen in Denmark is flying off the shelves. I'm pleased to hear that, Renee. Rob CP's ordered a smock from Axminster. Yes, it may well help you become a better turner. Or at least it'll help you become a cleaner one. Glenn Travis in Spokane, Washington. Hiya, Glenn. Hey, Silk's in the house. Hi Heather, how are you? You alright? Georgianne, hi Georgianne. Am I going to turn it without the tailstock? No. Doug Miller in Kentucky. Gordon, I will be starting courses again when lockdown's over, so maybe middle of July to August, something like that, maybe, hopefully. Phil Abraham in Poole. It is a serious chunk of wood, yeah. That gives you a slightly better idea on the size of it. Or even that one. That view's quite good too. Dragon, watched a US wood turning video where he was finishing mushrooms. He painted a mushroom with 50/50 sanding sealer and then used a buffing wheel to make it shine. He did not use any other product. Oh, fair enough. Each to their own, Dragon. Do I have an opinion? Yeah, it's each to their own. A sanding sealer isn't a finish. It won't offer much in the way of protection for the wood. In my opinion, he should have gone over the top of it with at least something. But it's entirely up to him. It's just a shiny surface. It's not a finished surface as such, in my opinion. Dewey, am I still doing a goblet demo? Yes, Dewey, the goblet demo I have scheduled for a Zoom demonstration in September or November, I can't remember, because I'm only doing YouTube videos once a month now, because people are going back to work and I'm doing YouTube videos once a month and also once a month in the new wood turning club, which I'll talk about later. Mark's in. Hi Mark. Hi Ian. Tornado. Hi Scott. Paul, I'll be doing a one-piece goblet. Paul Straker, good to meet you too last night, Paul. Thank you for joining in. The word gnarly comes to mind. It's not that bad, Gordon. This is actually how it's supposed to look. It's not as bad as the piece the other day, I don't think. It's bigger. It's bigger, that's for sure. Better turn the lathe on, I suppose. Let me up. Yeah, Phil Bolter's in the house, everybody. Phil Bolter is my moderator extraordinaire. He'll be looking after the chat for you this evening. Defensive Line CCW. That's a very intimidating sounding name. Picked up some Hampshire Sheen gloss. Works great. Thank you very much. I'm looking at coming to the Omaha, Nebraska AAW seminar next year. David Bracken has just become the owner of a monkey puzzle tree that blew down last week. Poor you, David. It will be interesting to turn this because it is obviously end grain. Five minutes. 5 minutes, 202 people. Wow. Thank you, everybody. Hobby Turner, what's Martin likely to be saying lots tonight? Given the size of this piece, it might be wear a face shield, stand clear, oops, that's not supposed to happen. Matt Held, I was in Kansas City 2 years ago for the Kansas City Symposium. Colin King, hi Colin, and Christine. Right, 4 minutes to go, and I'm just going to take a couple of minutes just to finish sorting some stuff out. So I'll stick the normal little video back on just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll get going. So hold tight, everybody. I will be back in 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, right then. Hi everybody. I'm feeling really out of breath today. I don't know what it is, but yeah, thank you very much indeed for joining in this evening. I hope you're all well and you've had a good couple of weeks and weekends in and around your workshops if you've had time. We're going to crack on with the demo now. You guys keep chatting in the chat as you do every week. And a couple of little points of housekeeping, if you don't mind. Phil Bolter is here. He's going to be looking after the chat for you this evening. And if you could hold off any questions until I stop the demonstration and ask specifically for them, I'll do my best to get through as many as I possibly can. Now what we've got on the lathe this evening is quite a sizable piece, so I don't think there's going to be any sanding and finishing involved tonight, because it's a fairly sizable chunk of wood, so I've got a feeling it might take a little bit of time to actually get this into a bowl shape. But we shall see. Right. Now I ought to show you exactly what's going on with this piece because, as I said, it is pretty large. So I'm going to pop to the overhead camera for a minute. Just swing it around there so you can see. Ooh. I have to be careful how I take this off the lathe. Right, this is a pretty large lump of monkey puzzle wood, and as you can see it is being turned end grain, so the tree's growing this way and these knobs on the side are where the branches come out. Now if I just come back over here a minute, there's a monkey puzzle tree. So if you're unsure what a monkey puzzle tree looks like, there it is there on the left. It's got very prickly branches and leaves, not so much on the trunk as you can see from the picture just there. Very sappy when it is just cut. Beneath the bark is this really thick, horrible sap that is just horrific. So it's best just to cut it into rounds like this. Oh, like this, and just leave it. This has had its ends covered in wax for about 4 years, and that really horrible sap has just, I don't know where it's gone actually. I think most of it was in the bark, which I took off yesterday just to sort of speed this process up a little bit. Now in the middle of the in the middle, pretty common with softwood, really soft pith, which is actually this white mark here. It's really soft and quite horrible. So the best thing to do with that, I found out on the internet, is to essentially put a bung on it, like this one here. So I drilled down directly into the pith at this point, and then turned a bung to fit it. And what I'm going to do when I mount it in a minute is actually turn this off. So the bung will be flush to the surface, and then we can actually turn the tenon that we need to fit on the jaws. So that's the first thing to do. And if I flip it over, you can see we've got a whopping great faceplate on here. Really big. I think it's 110 millimeters, which is about 4 and a bit inches, something like that, and that sits nicely on the appropriate jaws. Swing that camera back round there again. Make sure it's nice and tight, and it's not badly balanced either actually. It's not particularly round, and it feels fairly dry as well. It's not particularly heavy, so that's a good thing. Now to do this, I'm going to bring the tailstock up to give it some support, and I was hoping that the bung would be a little bit more central than it actually is. It's about 1/4 of an inch away from the center. So the tailstock has come up to give it some support, because this is a really large piece of wood. and just as normal, we're going to get the tool rest in a position that when the piece is turning, obviously the piece doesn't hit it. And we're definitely going to be wearing a face mask for this. So as we're going around here, you can see each of these branch marks that are coming off, and that's one of the nice things about Monkey Puzzle, is that you get these branches coming out the sides, and they're roughly equidistant. They're kind of evenly spaced around the round, as it were. So that should create a really lovely pattern on the bowl when we get down to that position, or that place. But we'll see. We've got a long way to go with this blank at the moment. And truth be known, it's been a while since I've turned something this big. Slow the lathe right down. And I'm going to put on the face shield for this, most definitely. Give it a little bit of a clean first. Oop. And this is definitely something... Oh, Dawn Mason, why not cut the branches flush with those? Will those hurt as you hit them? No, they'll be all right, Dawn. And also, I have cut them off as much as I can with my bandsaw. But it'll be fine. Just the same as always with turning. If you're not sure, stop, get some advice, and if you're really not sure, don't do it. Okay, 260 people watching this. This is awesome. I'm going to start with a 2-inch, sorry, not a 2-inch, a 1/2-inch bowl gouge with this, and I'm just going to double check where everything is, all the closest points. Just look at the overhead, and what I can do to give me a hand, just as a little visual reference, if I can find the Sharpie, there it is just on the tool rest here. I want to make as many cuts as I can right above the centre of the tool rest, and I'm going to put a little mark there and a little mark there, and that there will tell me pretty much where the closest points of the blank are, or of the piece are, as it comes round. Not that we're going to be turning this very quickly, but it's just a helpful guide to show me exactly where the pieces are when I present the gouge to the work. So I'm going to bring the control panel around here to my left, I think. No, I'm going to put it there on my right. 1/2-inch bowl gouge. Let's get the handle back to where I like it. Check everything is locked down, because the last thing we need is anything to go wrong with this. Start the lathe at 0. And there it goes. Properly slow to start with. On your screen now, I think it looks like it's actually going backwards. It's not, it is actually going forwards towards me. So I can see where my closest marks are, and I'm going to ease the gouge towards those marks. There it is. And I'm just going to let the piece do what it wants, virtually, and by holding the gouge down like this, actually slices the wood rather than chops it. And if I just put the other view on there, you can see the angle of the gouge. It's quite a long way down. So the wood's coming down onto the gouge, so it's being sliced. Just want to get those large Sorry, I'm doing what I normally do on YouTube, on my YouTube videos, and that's just say half a sentence. I want to get rid of these big knotty bits first, so we get it round. So get rid of the biggest bits first. If anybody wants to know, the lathe is currently at 175 RPM. Just going to get the tool rest a little bit lower. A little bit lower, and because it's getting a little bit smaller, I can just move it in a little bit closer as well. Remembering to keep those the branch marks there in between the marks that I've put on the tool rest. Make sure it's locked. Sounds a little bit like a galloping horse. No, but as I'm making these cuts, you know, I'm not holding on to the gouge for dear life. I'm just holding it firmly. And I'm going to stop every once in a while just to check to see where I'm going. Yeah, that knot's looking nice. Haven't even touched this one yet, or that one. So we're just getting these two down mostly. I'm just going to let the gouge take what it wants from this side. There's a lot of air coming round here as well, which is why the gouge movements are so slow. That's better, that's beginning to take off a little bit more. Now it's getting a bit smaller. I'm certainly not going to rush this. Move the tool rest in a little bit closer. We're getting there. We're just beginning to catch hold of this one now. Yeah, nearly there. It's just going to take a little bit of time. There's a fairly large lump about here which I need to get rid of as well, so we'll get rid of that too. You can hear now we're getting to a much better, we're taking more wood off with each rotation of the piece now, which is nice. So we're definitely getting smaller. And you might be able to see on my hand here where it's up against the tool rest, we're actually getting little shavings coming off. And that's a good thing, because we're actually slicing the wood, which is why whenever the gouge starts to, you know, get kicked away from me, it's just being slid down the tool rest. It's not catching the wood, and you can see we're getting some really lovely figure and pattern coming out in the wood now. The internet is a little bit choppy just at the moment. I'm leaving here, so don't worry about that. I am keeping an eye on it. Remember, there's not much I can do about the internet connection. But if it does carry on like this for too long, I will send a quick message to my web guy just to let him know. Cool, right, getting there. Okay, I'm going to swap over to the other 1/2 inch gouge, because that one, the edge is gone. And just while I swap over the gouges, I'll just drop a message to my internet guy, see if he can do anything to improve the connection for us. So if you bear with me, I'll just send him a quick message. Do. And I'm just going to whip my fleece off as well, because it is quite warm. Right, am I back? Okay, right, I'm back. And I've just had a message from the internet guy. Okay, right, yeah, I think it looked like I'd pushed the stream a little bit too much. Right, so face shield back on, and then we can crack on with getting this done. It should be better now. I've dropped the stream rate down a bit. So let's go back. Let's do this one for a minute, shall we? There we go. So lathes at 180. So I've got a different gouge now. It's still 1/2 inch, but the edge on the other gouge has gone. So I've just switched over to a sharper one. And just so long as I get this piece mostly round, I'll be happy to proceed with the rest of it. There's a really hard bit just there. Where's that really hard one? I haven't even touched this one yet. I think it might be that one. Okay, right, oh, it's there. Right, so I just want to get rid of that little lump there, and then I think we'll start looking at the bottom of the piece. So I'll start just there, I think. Now I noticed somebody in the comment was saying they don't like the clunking. When you're doing stuff like this, clunking is inevitable, and so long as you're not holding the gouge for grim death, all it does is just dunk, 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 just knock the gouge back a little bit. So it's not really a catch, and it's not particularly scary either. Catches get scary if you're holding the piece too hard. Sorry, catches get scary if you're holding the gouge too tightly. Okay. Right, now I can start to work on the bottom a little bit because I'm happy with that. It's fairly well balanced. But what I want to do now is just start to... There we go. I just want to start to lose this bung. I did leave it a little bit too big. So I'm just going to ease that away. We'll do the overhead again, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm going to leave the tailstock in. Make sure that nothing's going to catch. And I can just use the gouge just to take this away. This is a Bubinga bung. Make sure everything's locked down, of course. Take a little while to get down there, so I'm going to swap to a smaller gouge. Be able to take slightly better cuts with a smaller gouge. Should have taken it off with a saw, really. In there. Cool. Now I chose a Bubinga bung for this because I thought the colour of the wood sort of echoes the branches or the branch knots of the monkey puzzle. Ooh-wee. This is taking a little bit of time. just lost that bit there. So I've got to be careful now, because you can see that one. There you go. You can see that we've just lost the side of that bung there, which is okay. I'm not going to worry too much because this has all got to go anyway. But now when we're spinning, I've got to be careful not to get a little catch under there. Just eat that away slowly. Careful when we get to the main bit of wood. Okay, right. Now I'm just going to get a saw to that, I think. Yeah. Put a little spindle lock in there. Right, let's get a little saw. And I think this will be quicker than trying to cut it with the gouge. I was never any good with a saw. I used to be a sawyer for when I was 17. I used to be a sawyer for a stonemasonry company, and I couldn't cut anything in a straight line. I wasn't very good. It's no wonder I got fired. Okay, right, now I do need to get this bit down nice and flush. With the lathe running super slow, I'm going to take that down. Whoop, take the spindle lock out. Going to take that down so it's nice and flush. Oh dear, oh dear. Pull that up again. Okay. Nearly there. Oh, give you the overhead view. Gosh, this is absolutely rock hard, this piece. So I'm going to swap back to the 2-inch again, sorry, the 1/2 inch. Drop the tool rest a little bit. Cool. This is an absolute beast, and it's tearing out all over the place. I've got a feeling I might have left this kicking around the workshop for too long. it's just coming off. In bits. I've got a feeling it's past it. Yeah, look at that. Let me just show you the other camera. Yeah, look. This is dreadful. I'm not even sure it's worth carrying on with it. It's so bad. It's just coming off in it's just coming off in these flakes here. It's terrible. It's gone, it's past it. Yeah, check this out, it's in a terrible state. So I'll take a couple more cuts just to see if we can get past all this really cruddy, horrible, punky stuff. Let's see if we can get in a little bit deeper to see if the quality of the wood improves as we go in. Doesn't feel like it. No, it's crap. It's a terrible, terrible piece of wood that I've been looking after so carefully. No, it's not even worth it. It's not even any good for firewood. It is just atrocious. It's just awful. Look at that. Oh, that's me. That one. Look at this. It's just appalling. It's not even worth bothering with. But I will just take a quick cut. I will just take a quick cut back round here just to see if we can get a decent cut out of it. I don't think we will. No, dreadful. That ain't gonna work. So what I'll do is take that bit off the faceplate. Jim, no, 40 grit's not going to make any difference to it at all. It's gone too far, which is really annoying. You can see here we've got all of this tear out, and it's going at least, what's that, about an inch and a half deep into the piece, and it's just not worth going any further. It's really not. So we'll leave that there. So what we'll do instead is I'll make it up as I go along, shall I? Let's see. Okay, tell you what, whilst I start to take this off the faceplate, what do you fancy? What do you fancy? I'll open this up to you, and if I can do it, Rubber Dub Wood says thin stemmed goblet. That's a possibility. Right, open it up to you. What do you think? Joseph King, carbides would not make any difference on that at all. If the wood's crap, the wood's crap, and it doesn't matter if you're using gouges or carbides. So I'll take these 12 screws out of here. Tell you what, should I do a goblet? Have I? Oh, there it is. Right, shall I do a goblet? If I've got a blank one that isn't full of wormholes. Not sure what that is. I'm just over here. I'm just looking for a blank that I might be able to do a goblet with. So talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Right, I've got some sycamore here. I'll just cut this sycamore down to a spindle blank or blank, and we'll do a goblet instead. Better put some glasses on. Hang on. Sorry folks, I won't be long. Right, should we try that again? Right, let's try that again. So what I've got here is, is a blank sycamore that is, there's the tape measure. I don't normally do spindles, so it's roughly 9 by 3 by just under 3, something like that. And completely thrown now, so we'll just do a quick goblet. It won't be off centre. I'll just mark out the centres. There we go. So I've just marked out the centres of this goblet. I might have to even reset the cameras. It shouldn't take too long to get through a goblet though, I hope. Let's take this. Take that chuck off and just replace it for the other one. Have you ever had one of those days where you woke up in the morning and you thought, today's not going to be a great day? I think I might have had one of those this morning, but I chose to ignore the warning. Right, I'm going to put in a spur drive centre. Joan Duffy, I was wearing a it was a Honeywell. It was one of those, that's a Honeywell bionic polycarbonate face shield. Lining this up between centres. Gordon Chapman, you've learnt. Yes, sometimes, Gordon, it is much wiser to say, you know what, this wood's a pain. You know, and if I was to go too much further with it, it would become very obviously clear that it was just not going to play the game. Right, face shield on again. Right, so I've got a blank that's roughly 9 by 3 by 3. We're going to have to work properly quickly for this now, I think. So I'll just bring that up there. There we go. So the blank is 9 by 3 by 3 inches, and I'm going to use the spindle roughing gouge to get it down to round, making sure that everything is locked into position first. And the tool rest is at a height that when the tool's presented, you're cutting just about on the centre line or ever so slightly beneath it. I can do this with the lathe running a little bit quicker. Now, one little note of safety here, or one little note, many notes of safety. When if you're turning and you've got an LED panels above the lathe or around you, when the lathe is spinning at a certain speed, it actually looks like it's running backwards. See, at the moment, that to me looks like it's running backwards, which can be a little bit off-putting. So if I just slow it down just a tiny little bit, it puts it back where it should be. If I speed it up a little bit, there we go. And of course the piece is getting a little bit smaller, so we'll just move that in a little bit closer. So as I'm making these cuts, as you can see, the gouge is staying in exactly the same position throughout the cut. I'm not changing the angle at all. Let's just show you the other angle there. So you can see that the gouge is keeping its position relative to the piece throughout the entire cut in both directions. And it's nearly round. The blank itself wasn't absolutely square, so I just need a few more cuts just to get that. Now I'm always very cautious when it comes to roughing down spindle blanks. A little bit more. I've just got one little flat spot. Oop. I've got one flat spot just there. One last cut. That should do. Right, okay. I'm going to move down through this fairly quickly. And on the left hand end here I'm going to put a tenon suitable for these jaws. Now these are Nova jaws, so it requires a square tenon. I've got just enough room in there if I'm careful. Yes, Phil, it is nice to see shavings instead of dust. You're absolutely right. That was a dreadful piece of wood. Okay. Now, not every piece of wood is going to play... Where are we? There we are. Not every piece of wood is going to play the game with you. So, you know, if the piece itself gets too much, or if it's really horrible and manky, like that piece of monkey puzzle was, don't worry if you need to. If you need to bin it, you know, it's not the end of the world. And I'm all over the place now. All the cameras are in the wrong position. Almost. I'll just twist that one around there. You should be able to see that nice and clearly now. I haven't even sharpened a spindle gouge for tonight either. That'll do. Well, I'm just going to flatten the end of this a little bit, very carefully. Now I think also this blank might be a little bit too long for what we want to do. It's not my night tonight, but I'm just going to clean up this end a little bit, nice and carefully, with a few light cuts with the spindle gouge. There we are. That's a super cut, that. Lovely. Right, now I do want to take a little bit off the end of that. So I only want a goblet that's 6 inches ish long. So if I take it off about there. So I'm just going to part it off about there somewhere. Definitely not my night tonight. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring the tool, the tailstock up just briefly, and use the fluted parting tool just to take that down most of the way, because we do have quite a long blank here, so a fluted parting tool just to take that down most of the way. We'll be alright. We've got to make sure that we don't go all the way through the blank, of course, because all sorts of nasty things can happen then. And then, rather than part it off all the way, just get the saw on it. Definitely not my day today. There we go. That's better. Take the spindle lock out, that's important. And now I can come back to the spindle gouge. There we are. Right, okay, here we go. Now this is going to be a fairly short little goblet, so I'm going to just eye this up. I'm going to do it by eye. So there's the piece spinning about a third of the way down-ish, maybe a little bit more than a third of the way. There's going to be the bowl here, and then we're going to have a little bit of a waste block down here, and then the stem will go from about here up to about here, I think, something like that. Okay, right, I need I need a break. I just need to sharpen the gouge up a little bit. There we are. And while I'm here, I'll sharpen the spindle gouge too. I wasn't planning on using a spindle gouge tonight, but it needs it because I will be using it this evening. Now forgive me for rushing a little bit. Obviously this part of the demonstration has not exactly been planned, so we are going to get through this relatively quickly. Phil Bolter, let's start a book. Is he going to colour the goblet? Phil, come on, you know me. I might not. Right, okay, overhead cam. So this bit here is going to be the bowl, and I'm going to take a few cuts just to start the shape of the bowl using the 3/8 bowl gouge. Let's just move that down a little bit. Hopefully that will be in focus for you. So we'll take a few cuts just to get the basic shape of the bowl, and we'll start to make a little bit of the turn in and a little bit of the shape as well. So first of all, I'm going to go in a little bit, and then we're going to come out, just let the gouge bounce a little bit, and then about here I'm going to start to turn in. Oop. Sorry, it's my head getting in the way. So we'll turn in about here. I'm just going to get that in a little bit more as well, just over there. And just blend that cut out through there. That'll do. Right, I can play with that again a little bit later. Right, now, as you know, Mike uses a spindle gouge to get down into, to get the depth that he wants for his goblets. I tend not to. I tend to use, well, not measure it at all, to be fair. So I need to find the hollowing tools now and take out the other ones. Thank you everybody for your super chats. It's making me a happier bunny now. So I'm going to use the Robert Sorby Little Hogger for most of this. I find it a nice, suitable, rigid tool. Go to that view there, and if I just bring this camera up a little bit and point it down, where are you? There we go. That should give you a slightly better view. Now I prefer, the only time I use carbide tools are in hollowing stuff like this, because I find they're just a little bit safer. Take the live centre out of the tailstock, that'll help. Always a good idea to do that. Right, so you can see now that I've actually got the tailstock up quite high. I've got the tailstock up quite high, and the tool rest is a reasonable distance from the piece. That's because this lump here on the bottom of the tool needs to be able to come out and away from the piece. So there's nothing wrong with this tool rest position at all. It's pretty bang on. So when the tool's withdrawn from the piece, let me put something underneath there. There we go. So when the tool is withdrawn from the piece, I've got a little bit of leeway. Thank you, Adam Newbury, and Matt Gasper as well. So there we are. Now I like this tool because the tip is already kind of over at the right angle, and it's on a flat bar, or the bottom of the bar is flat. So it always keeps the actual cutting tip at the best sort of angle for it. And speed the lathe up a little bit. I'm just going to raise up the other camera a little bit. Oh, I've just lost a camera because the power cable fell out. I wonder if that's going to come back on. Oh yeah, look at that, it did. go, you should be able to get a decent angle with that, or a decent view from that angle. This is the Robert Sorby Little Hogger. Talk amongst yourselves a little bit just while I dig this out. Now I'm going to have to raise the tool. I'm going to have to raise the tool rest up a little bit and move it in a tiny bit closer now. Let's see if I can just improve the exposure in there for you, Phil. There you go. How's that? Paul Kavanagh, what I'm doing here is back hollowing, Paul. Oh, I don't believe it. It's really not my night tonight. There we go. Tool rest needs to come up a little bit more. Oh, it's only 8:30. Now, because the tool rest is a little bit closer, it means I can't bring the tool all the way out, and I can't bring the cut right to the edge either. So I've got to get in there and kind of do half the cut I want to. And now I can't get it because I can't see it. Let's just move that a little bit. Slow down, Martin, there's no need to rush. I'm just going to take a little Allen key and just ever so slightly change the position of that cutter so I can get a better angle at the bottom. There we go. That's better. Now, because we're quite deep here, I can't actually see what I'm doing very well at all. Oh. No, that one. Whoops. Big lump in the bottom there. Walls aren't too bad. I'm going to switch over to a scraper now so I can get down the bottom, just like Mike did the other day. Nothing wrong with using a scraper if you need to. Just going to have a little word with myself. I'm having such a bad night, it's unbelievable. Just got to sharpen this scraper up a bit. Right. There we go. Right, let's try that again. There we go. A sharp scraper always helps. I've got to be very careful coming round there into the corner. The lathe stop before I put my fingers in there. Yeah, that's just getting rid of that little dimple in the bottom. And I'll just show you the other view. Now you've got to be very careful when using a scraper like this, where you've got a really long rounded cutting edge, because if too much of the cutting edge makes contact with the wood, you're in prime position for quite a substantial catch. Oh look, the camera froze. So let's just deactivate that and bring it back. There you go. Right. So I'm right down the bottom there where the bowl curves round. And just there where it starts to chatter, that's where it starts to get quite a lot of contact round the cutting edge. There. A little bit more just in there, just to bring the goblet bowl into line with the rest of the shape. Lathe. Kevin Edwards, no, we are not entering the funnel zone. That's really cheeky, Kevin Edwards. just making sure that the actual bowl itself has a similar shape on the inside as it does to the outside. Right, okay. Now I'm quite happy with that. I think you might be able to see that reasonably well. There's a little bit of tear out, of course, because we were using a scraper. So now I can finish that off, and I hope my little, yeah, there we go. That'll fit in there quite happily. Right, I'm going to finish that off now. So if you bear with me a second, I need to slip on a mask. Switch on the extractor and the air filter. Put the mask on. Start with a little bit of 180 grit. Oh, glasses. There you go. So this is 180 grit to start with. And then we'll drop down to 240. And then we'll finish it off with a little bit of 400. But before we do that, I'm going to clean the grain out, or just clean the dust out rather. That'll do. A little bit of sanding sealer. Frederick Day says this is begging to be coloured. It might be. Right. One last bit. Do, do, do. Right, we'll leave it there. Well, we won't leave it there, we'll just leave it there for a minute. Oops. What a bad day. Right, does anybody have any questions at all just while that sanding sealer is drying off? If you have any questions, please ask them now. Dave Sullivan, bet you wish you could have gone out. Yeah, or stayed at home, Dave. Dave, the monkey puzzle was dreadful. Really, really, really punky. Let me show you. There you go, Dave. When it gets like that, it's not worth turning. "465 people watching me turn a goblet instead of a piece of monkey puzzle. Sorry, everybody." Paul Kavanagh, black lacquer should be in this week. It should be in probably Thursday, or at least that's the plan at the moment. That's when I've been told it will be here. Right, put a little bit of wax on the inside of that goblet. Adam J, just click thumbs up. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it should be an interesting goblet actually, because I turn goblets slightly differently to Mike. Mine mostly stay in one piece. He said, although given the way today's going, this one may not turn out to be in one piece. We'll see. Right, that one. So I've just put a little coat of wax in there. Steve, for colour, do you do rising flame effect, deep red at the base? No, Steve, I'm not going to do anything quite as dramatic as that. Chris Sullivan, oddly enough, I'm using the Hampshire Sheen gloss wax. That's my go-to finish, as most of you know. So that now has a little bit of a gloss wax finish in there, and I'm quite happy with that. That looks quite nice. Now I can bring the live centre back up now. Anthony, you star, thank you ever so much. Right, here we go. So here's a little rubber ball, or a little bouncy ball. It's not a tennis ball, it is actually solid. And I'm going to put the live centre in that little bit just there. Now I don't want to be putting too much pressure on here, because obviously the walls are still a little bit on the thin side. And as you can see, that's spinning quite nicely. Move that out the way. We'll go to the overhead. And now we can start to turn the rest of this. When I've sorted out the overhead camera. There we go. I'll put that there. And I'm just going to sort the focus out for you as well. Can't have bad focus. You know me, it bugs me if you can't see what I'm doing. Camera control, focus off. There we go. That should be all right for you now, I hope. Dave Sullivan, how much pressure are you putting on when using Hampshire Sheen? Dave, just enough to keep, for my finger to keep the towel on the wood. Maybe a smidge bit more. Right, tell you what. Chill. let's take 2 minutes, take some questions so I can straighten my head out. How about that? Because I am still mightily thrown, or well, not mightily thrown, but I'm still kind of out of sorts. James at Wessex Technical, in essence, the monkey puzzle bit was rubbish. Let me show you what I was dealing with. Hang on a minute, James at Wessex Technical. There, that's what I was contending with. Really bad. That's not even tear out, that is just a terrible piece of wood. Which is a bit of a shame, really. Right. Okay, tell you what, should we take a couple of minutes out? Let's just take a couple of minutes just to chill out. Take a deep breath, and Martin needs to compose himself. that sounds quite wrong on several different levels. Scott Hampton, that was the 6mm. That was the 6mm cutter on the 6mm carbide cutter on the Robert Sorby Little Hogger. Nigel, that's perfectly normal. Nigel Ivor Long Walk, that's perfectly normal. All the sealer is doing is taking colour from the surface, not taking it out of the wood. Shay, is the dust off the monkey puzzle toxic? No, I don't think so, or not. I'm not. I don't have a reaction to it. There is a really good resource online called the Wood Database, and if you want to know anything about the wood that you're turning, check it out on the Wood Database. All of the woods that are in there, and there are hundreds, they've all got a little bit of toxicological information with them too. Gary Jones, have a cheeky vape. That's not a bad idea actually, Gary. Rene, would you prefer an ash handle or blackwood? Oh, Rene, blackwood, and bill me for it too. Send me a bill, Rene. Blackwood would be mwah. Harold Golden, will the sealer wax you put on the inside of the goblet prevent colour from soaking through from the outside? Harold, the walls on this sycamore, although they're sort of, I don't know, 4 or 5 mil thick, the colour won't bleed through that much. It won't bleed through at all with a closed grain wood like sycamore or maple, but you might need to put a couple of coats of sanding sealer on to prevent any bleed through with an open wood like ash or something like that. Paul Jarman, if you split that log down the middle, would it turn any better? No, I don't think so. I think that log has actually it's just past its best now. And it wouldn't look very good either, because you'd have a knot at the very bottom, and that I don't think that would look very good. Patrick O'Connell, the best tool for that monkey puzzle is a flamethrower. Yes, I completely agree with you, Patrick. That's a really good idea, but I will save it and put it on the fire at Christmas time, I think. Something like that. Rob CP, when you travel doing demos, what tools do you take? Rob, normally when I do a demonstration and I travel, I know what I'm going to be doing, so I will take enough tools to do the demonstration without sharpening. So I'll probably take 2 really sharp bowl gouges, maybe 3, spindle gouge just in case I want to do some detail on the outside. Sort of maybe half of the rack, but all of the tools that I would normally use on that particular demonstration. Right, shall we carry on? Overhead. Right, here we go. There's the bowl. Ought to just make out. There, the bottom of the bowl is about here, so I can just turn the bottom of the bowl in down there. That will be okay. Lock that down. Find the bowl gouge. Now, unlike Mike, who uses a spindle gouge quite a lot, I'm going to do most of this with a 3/8 bowl gouge. I really like doing it with a 3/8 bowl gouge. I can get rid of a lot of wood confidently when the tool rest is at the right height. There we go. And just with just as you do with a spindle gouge, if you keep the bowl gouge handle, if you keep the bowl gouge bevel in contact with the wood, you get a really nice cut. There's a little bit of movement in the wood just there. Just come round this corner a little bit. And you can see there we've got quite a nice shape now. Now the lathe's only at 1300 RPM, so I'm still not going at this hell for leather. Just changed over to a little detail gouge. Just to put a little bit of detail in the top there. A bit like Mike does, but obviously this is my goblet. There we go. Now what we'll do is we'll stop there and we'll actually finish off the bowl, because we will put a little bit of colour on here, and I don't normally scrape round here, but I'm going to scrape just for a minute. I just want to smooth off that curve just a tiny bit. Okay. So bring the extractor back in, sand that back, extractor on, dust mask on again.
Excuse me a minute. Thank you, Steve. Right, okay. Where's the... Right. I'm going to start with a little bit of 120, just to get this started a little bit. Oh, hang on. Where's that camera gone? Lost it. Oh well. Let's use that one instead. Tom Dullage, thank you very much. So I'm doing the bowl first because I want to add some colour to that. Now I'm being careful not to get the piece too hot. You don't want to be getting sycamore too hot when you're sanding. Because it does have a tendency to crack a little bit on the end grain, which we definitely don't want to be doing. So by keeping the piece moving, by keeping the abrasive moving, you make sure that you keep the wood as cool as possible. Obviously friction is going to play a part, but it won't get the piece quite so hot quite so quickly. So I'm now down to 240 grit. Hi Nathan, how are you? There's still a little bit of tear out just over here. I just want to get the 240 grit just into that, just to make sure we get rid of it. And then we can go down to 400 grit. Now I'm making sure, because we are going to add a little bit of colour to this. Yeah, because we're going to be adding a little bit of colour to this, not very much, just a bit of an accent colour. I've still got to make sure, just as normal, that my finish off the paper is as perfect as it possibly can be. There we go, that'll do. Right. Okay, I'm going to use, what colour's that?
Need to see what colour this is. It's red. I don't want red. I want brown. You can tell I'm not prepared for this demonstration. I was prepared to do a monkey puzzle bowl, but that went down the pan, didn't it? That's blue. Ah, that's an empty bottle. That'll do. Right. I'm going to pull out the airbrush. There's the airbrush. I'm going to pull that out. Rob, you always put, or certainly with the technique that I use, you always put colour onto bare wood. That's the technique that I do. Right, there we go. Slow down a minute, Martin, there's no need to rush. Right, empty bottle, and we're going to put a little bit of earth in the bottom here. Ten squirts of earth, and oh, I've spilt it. 10 squirts of earth and 2 of ruby and 2 of burnt orange. Let's see how that looks, shall we? That's not going to be enough. Let's get a little bit more in there. Another little bit of ruby. And another little bit of burnt orange. Got no idea how this is going to look, but brown and red do look good together, so that's what we're going to do. Just wait for the airbrush. There we go, it's reached its pressure. I'm going to put the extractor back on for a minute, just so it can just take away some of the overspray. Oh, that's quite nice. Right, all I want to do with this is get a solid colour down the bottom and then have it kind of blend out over the top here, but still have the natural wood at the top. A little bit of tear out there, but you know, I'm having such a bad day, I'm not going to do anything about that. I'm going to do it with the lathe spinning, and I'm going to start by spraying off the piece down here, and then I'm going to move the airbrush kind of that way and blend it out, fade it out, just like that. And by moving the brush away, it opens the spray pattern, and that's where you get the really nice fade. There we are. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of a line just across there, so I'll just see if I can blend that out a bit. There we are, that'll do. And that's all the colouring you're going to get tonight, folks. That's it. Not doing any more, I don't think. And I'll use a little bit of denatured alcohol, methylated spirits, just to clean that airbrush out. Turn it off and leave it over there. Okay. Right, so there's oh, wrong one. It's all going wrong tonight. It really is. Right, there's the piece. That looks nice. I'm going to change to a slightly shorter tool rest. Which will allow me to get the gouge in a little bit closer. But now all of the cuts I'm taking, I've got to be really careful that I don't got to be really careful that I don't catch this coloured surface over here. And again, I'm going to do most of it with the bowl gouge. Speed the lathe up a little bit. And where we get the change in colour, just up here from the browny red to the natural wood, it's going to be quite a nice contrast. Now, what I'm doing here, each cut that I take is essentially forming a foot. So I can keep going down like this, and I just make one foot after another, after another, after another. So as soon as I think it looks nice, that's where I can stop, because the foot is already formed. And then I can just pick the cut up just to finish making the stem. I hope that made sense. Now I'm going to change back to spindle gouge. I'm just going to make this detail, I'm just going to make it up. I've got no idea how I really want it to look. I'll just keep doing it until it looks nice. Yeah, that looks alright. I like that. And then the foot itself looks a little bit on the wide side looking at it from this angle, but just with the fluted parting tool I'm going to come down here, and that's where I want to part it off. So I've got a little bit of extra foot that I can play with here with the spindle gouge, just to perhaps put a little chamfer on it, just to make it a tiny little bit thinner than the actual bowl itself. So I'll just do that, just put a little chamfer on there like that, and then if I just twist the tool rest round a little bit, I can get a nice concave foot on there. I'm like Mike, I like a concave foot. Don't like that. Get rid of this bit. And keep it properly simple now. That's better. Yeah, that'll do. There we go. Let's lift that up a little bit. Sorry, spinning you around. Hope you don't get a headache. There we go. Just like that. Now we can finish that off. So I'll get the sanding stuff out again. Mask on. Bearing in mind we haven't put any finish on the bowl yet, so we'll finish it all in one go. I'm going to start at 180 grit, being very careful not to slip over the top here. Just going to drop back down to 120. Don't want to get it too hot, remember. You see this bit here? This bit here has gone straight. I don't want that straight. I want it curved. So I'm going to come back in there with the spindle gouge and just curve this bit here. It shouldn't be straight. It needs to be curved. It's spoiling the look. There we go. That's better. Just that little attention to details just improved the look of the foot here. It's just a so we're back up to 180 grit now. Now I want to stop and have a look. There's a little bit of tear out in here which I really need to get rid of. I don't like tear out. Tiny little bit more and then that would have gone. You know, I've just said I don't like tear out. For those of you who were here at the beginning with the monkey puzzle and all of that tear out, I have OCD for tear out. Okay, let's just have a look at that. That's much better. You see, just a few extra seconds and you can get rid of any tear out on the end grain there. And now we can go back up to the 180 grit just to do a little bit more work on that surface. And then we'll move down to 240.
let's just stop there and have a look. And then 400 to finish off. I can't find the 400 paper. Has anybody seen the 400 grit paper? 180. Oh well, I'll use a new bit. Oh, I found it. On the end of the lathe. So a little bit of 400. Just to put a final surface on there ready for the sealer. Yeah, that'll do. Still a little bit of tear out on there, but you know my feelings about that. If I had the time, I would
go back and take that off completely. And now we can put some sanding sealer on the whole piece, or the whole piece, because we've already done the inside of the. We've already done the inside of the bowl, of course. You know, sometimes I hate being left-handed. It makes everything so difficult. Now, some of the colour has come off with the cellulose sanding sealer, which is perfectly normal. In fact, I'd like a little bit of colour to come off the surface, because it means there's essentially too much colour there, because we only want the colour actually in the wood. And you can see too that I did actually do a fairly poor job at sanding this, because you can see some sanding marks still in the wood. But let's face it, this isn't a finishing demonstration, and if we also look at the facts, this isn't a monkey puzzle bowl either. This is a time filling exercise. Right, there we go. I'm going to let that dry off a little bit now. There we go. Post this up on Instagram, hashtag my worst demo ever. Gordon, can you fill the tear out later during finishing with wax, etc.? Gordon, yes you could if you wanted to, but it's not going to look right. And that is more of a discussion for a finishing demonstration. So yeah, yes, you could if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend sanding the or getting rid of that tear out in the first place, rather than trying to solve the problem later. Solve it by getting your tool presentation right and your finishing right first. Right, we can see that we've got a nice shine beginning to come up there. I'll put one more coat of the sanding sealer on. Oh, Phil Bolter, Monkey Puzzle makes beautiful pens. Monkey Puzzle branches. Monkey Puzzle branches make stunning pens, Phil. Oops. I'm going to let that dry off a little bit. Does anybody have any questions at all? Such as, why did you bother starting to turn today, Martin? Rob CP, I think I did know that most US presidents were left-handed, yes. Alison, thank you very much indeed. Now I'm going to burnish the, I'm going to use both hands at this point. Just to support the bowl, and just burnish that sanding sealer a little bit, and you can see that it's already beginning to put a nice shine on there. There you go, you can see that we've got a really nice shine on there. And then to finish it off, we'll put a couple of coats of wax on it. Yeah, we'll put a couple of coats of wax on it to finish it off. Paul Huyton, thank you very much. Martin Chapello, thank you too. There we go, right, there's a couple of coats of wax. In fact, I just need to move that in a little bit. Now we'll just leave that to dry off a little bit. We're nearly done. We are nearly done. Quite like the look of it actually. Does anybody have, oh, Clive Gouger, does Abranet last longer than normal paper? Yes it does, Clive, very much so. Just letting that wax dry off a little bit. Does anybody else have any questions at all? We'll give it a couple of minutes just while that wax is drying off. Oh. Stephen, what size air compressor? I think that's a 5 litre compressor there, Stephen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a 5 litre. Thanks, Rob CP. Lynn Black, thank you. Right, yeah. Let's have a look at the compressor. Let's just unplug it first. It's unbranded. Thank you, Ian. It's unbranded. I got it from KMS Distribution Limited, and if you've got a pen and paper handy, its model number is AS186. There you go, it's an unbranded one. Although if I remember correctly, when I got it off of eBay for about 80 quid, including 2 airbrushes, it was about, I think it was called a Fox Hunter, something like that. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ian Leonard, and Ian B too. Thank you very much. Right, should we? Let's buff this up, and then we can chat for a little bit. Right, overhead. So I've still got the little ball in there. So we've got a couple of coats of wax on there. the Hampshire Sheen High Gloss, and all it needs is just a little bit, tiny little bit of pressure, just enough for your finger to keep the towel on the work, plus a little bit extra. And that's all you need in order to bring that wax up to a really, really nice shine. Gary, early night tonight. Yes, it is a little bit early, but what we'll do, I think, is I'll invite everybody over to a Zoom meeting, or at least up to 100 people. I'll invite them over to Zoom when we're done. So now I've got to make sure that I get this off in one piece, so, and then we'll stop and we'll chat. Right, so I'm going to remove the tailstock and the bouncy ball, or the ball anyway. There we go, look at that. I'm well chuffed with that. It's not quite a monkey puzzle, but right, now I need to part this off. I'm going to use a Robert Sorby fluted parting gouge, a fluted parting tool. Slow the lathe down. Remember, we've already parted off a bit of the way down there. So I'm going to make my way down there, just making a couple of little relief cuts as we go. Just move that over there a little bit so you can see down the gap. There we go. Whoops, bugger. Pardon my French. So you can see down the gap there now. Now, for you lefties out there, this is where being left-handed is really helpful. If I was right-handed, I would have to reach around the piece like this with my hand over the chuck. But because I'm a lefty, I can just support the piece in my right hand and use my left hand on the parting tool. Just like that. And there's our goblet. There we go. Oh, down a bit. And there we are. There is our monkey puzzle bowl. David B, if do the nozzles clog up? They might do a little bit, but I certainly don't notice them doing it too much. And if they do, a little bit of a squirt of methylated spirits will clear it out. There we go. There's our goblet. I'll put that. It's not sitting particularly straight. So I'll just find my. Oh, you know what? It really, really, really isn't my night tonight. I had a flex tool knife in here, and I don't know where it's gone. Right, I'll put that up there. Do that. Hang on a minute. That's no good. I'll move the stream deck and put it there. There we go. That's better. There's our little goblet. There. There we go. Move that out of the way. And there we go. There is. There's our goblet. Not too bad, I suppose, is it? Thank you, Silk. Yeah, it wasn't a bad recovery. It's not too bad. There you go. So we've got a nice stem, all turned with a gouge and the little bit of spindle gouge work. But yeah, a little bit of tear out in the bottom. But you know what? I'm really not going to panic. Right. Does anybody have any questions at all? John Patillo, I finished to make it usable. Rustin's plastic coating, I would suggest, in order to make that piece drinkable out of. Stuart, earlier this year when you messaged me about the mouse for your magazine article, you mentioned something about an accompanying video. No, you didn't miss it, Stuart. The video wasn't very good, so I didn't publish it. Sorry. Jeff Webb, I wonder how many marks out of 10 Mike Walt would give it. I don't know. I don't even know if Mike Walt's watching this evening. I think he'd probably give it a 7, maybe a 6. Ivor Longwalk, do you house your larger compressor outside? Yes, Ivor. Nigel, it's outside in the shed just over there with the extractor. And that's a big, very noisy 50-litre SIP compressor. Martin Chapello, yeah, a little bit more about the club. Yeah, I've started a wood turning club, which is based purely online, and a lot of people have asked me in the last few weeks whether or not there is some kind of Patreon kind of thing or that they could sign up to in order to support the channel regularly. And I've always said, well, no to that, because produced content as in edited videos regularly is virtually impossible. But doing live stuff like this is much more achievable, which is why I've managed to actually do a live presentation pretty much every week or every twice a week throughout this whole lockdown period. Yes, a lot of my demonstrations, of course, have been cancelled or postponed, but I've put on more live demonstrations than I had cancelled ones. So, and then people started saying, is there some way that they could subscribe to join something, Patreon or YouTube memberships? And there wasn't anything. So what I thought was would be to whether or not I could actually start a club, start an online club where every month the members would meet twice a month, once for a professional demonstration in Zoom. Oh, Mike Walt is here. Yeah, once a month for a professional demonstration in Zoom by either myself or another remote demonstrator from around the world that members wouldn't have to pay for, because it all sort of it's encompassed in their membership fees, but also other things like members only articles, e-learning, a general club night, that kind of thing. And so it kind of transpired last week, and in my head it all reached a peak last week, and I thought, yes, I'm going to launch a club. So I came up with Wood Turning 360, and you can find all the information about the club over there at Wood Turning 360. And members will be able to meet twice a week, as I said, in the Zoom environment. One meeting will be a professional demonstration, either by myself or by other remote demonstrator from somewhere in the world. who will be able to broadcast straight into the meeting for us. There's a dedicated Facebook group as well, and when I launched it last week, very quietly to a few people, there are already 65 members. So if you're interested in finding out more about Wood Turning 360, head over to the website there. There's loads of information there about it, and there's a growing calendar of events as well, and you can read all sorts. The website's not completely finished yet. I am adding stuff to it daily, but if you are interested in it, then woodturning360.com is the place to go. And yeah, does anybody want to head over to Zoom now so I can see people and you can actually talk to each other, because my mouth's getting a little bit dry. There are a few Wood Turning 360 members in the viewership this evening too, and we had our inaugural meeting last night. So a lot of the stuff that you see on the website about things that we're going to be doing as a club actually came from the membership last night. Cool. Any other questions? I'm going to do 5 more minutes of questions, and then I'm going to stick a link in the chat to a Zoom meeting. So we're going to do 5 more minutes of questions here, and then we're going to head over to Zoom. Patrick O'Connell, thank you very much. It has been a nightmare, and I'm glad you have learnt loads. Thanks, Rob CP. Right, five more minutes of questions, and whilst those questions are coming in, I'll just set up the Zoom meeting. Oops. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I will still be doing stuff on YouTube. I'll be demonstrating once a month, at least once a month in the club environment, so that will be private on Zoom, but I'll still be doing live stuff on YouTube. I forgot to mention that. That's quite important. I'll still be doing once a month on YouTube. Shake the shavings out of the keyboard. Oh, Mike's here. Mike, hang on. You know what? It's just not been my night. Oh, God. You know, I'm just gonna pack up and go home. Mike, little goblet there that I had to do because the monkey puzzle bowl was rubbish, or the wood was rubbish. What do you think of that for half an hour, 40 minutes? Heather Edwards, thank you very much. Gerard, hello. No, Mike, it's not a monkey puzzle goblet. Mike, let me show you. This is what the monkey puzzle ended up looking like. Punky as hell. And I thought, I'm not going to fight my way through that. I'm just going to bin it because it is just atrocious. There's no point in trying to turn something like that, because you wouldn't be able to get a decent cut, you wouldn't be able to sand it smooth or anything like that. You may as well just bin it. You may as well just bin it. Home. New meeting. Chat. Participants. So I'm just setting up Zoom at the minute. Invite. Okay, right. I'm going to copy and paste the link into chat to come over to Zoom. If you know how to use Zoom, brilliant. If you don't, it'll be a very quick learning curve. I've got room for up to 100 people, and you're all welcome to come and try and jump in there if you can. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, and there'll be a waiting room as well. There'll be a waiting room, and I'll let as many people in as I possibly can, and we can have a chat about the demonstration. We can talk about the club. We can talk about whatever you want, and ideally, you have a webcam as well, but you'll certainly need a microphone. Bespoke creations. If you get more than 100 members of Woodturning 360, does Zoom allow more than 100 to view? Bespoke creations, yes, it does. It will do if I start paying an additional £40 a month for up to 500 people, but the demonstrations and stuff that happen in the club will also be streamed directly into the Facebook group, where there's obviously no limit. So anybody who's a member can watch in the Facebook group. Right, there's the link. It's in the chat, and I will be there shortly. Hi David. Oh, I'm going to have to turn my speakers up so we can hear. I can hear what people are saying. Right, so there's a few people coming into the Zoom meeting right now. Oh, quite a few people by the sounds of things. Blimey, yep. FAA Office of what? Federal Aviation Authority, who's that? Right, meeting ID is coming into the chat again. There it is. I will see you shortly. So yeah, if anybody wants to chat about the demo, want to learn a little bit more about what I think went wrong with the demonstration as far as the monkey puzzle wood is concerned, come on over. I will explain everything in great detail as to why that blank was, or that piece was just utter rubbish. 22 people waiting. Hobby Turner, would I use the goblet in any way? I could put I don't know, some little cut flowers in there, maybe dried flowers, pens, pencils, maybe some loose change, some coins in there, something like that. Oh, Adam Newbury, FAA is me, right? Okay. Lauren, hi Lauren, how you doing? Come on over to Zoom, Lauren. There's the link again if you want to join us over in Zoom in a few minutes' time. "26 people are waiting. Anybody else going to come over?" Life is too short to turn bad wood. Yes, Leisure, it certainly is. Hello, Chris Cox. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Gentle Turn. Right, anybody else want to come over? Do you need to be on Facebook? Michael Driver, no, you don't need to be on Facebook. It will be helpful if you are, but you don't need to, because the majority of the meetings and stuff actually happen in Zoom. The Facebook side of things is just like normal Facebook. You just post stuff, that kind of thing. Tiny Turner, hi Emma. We need to have a chat, Emma. We need to have a chat. Georgianne, thank you very much. Lemons into lemonade. Georgianne, that's very kind of you. Right, okay, I'm going to open up the Zoom meeting now, so I'm going to say goodbye to everybody here. If anybody else wants to join over, there's the link to get into Zoom one more time, and I will see you all over there. Back Woodworks, thank you very much indeed. I hope to see you soon. I'll be back again in a month's time. In fact, if I just put the... I can't do it now. I'll be back again in about a month's time. If you're on my mailing list, you'll receive all the information, but of course I'll also put it onto Facebook as well. Right, I'm going to head over to Zoom now. So thank you very much indeed, everybody. I'll look forward to seeing you all again in a month's time. I'm sorry that we had to change the plan, but it all came together in the end. Thanks very much, everybody.